Hi everyone, welcome to another Procreate tutorial. My name is Apple Crisp. I will be stepping in as a guest tutor today on Joel Create's channel. Thanks so much to Joel for having me on. I also post a lot of Procreate tutorials, so if you want to check them out, my link will be in the description below. But this is the drawing that we will be completing in today's video. The only thing that you will need to do before we get started is download the color palette, which is linked in the description below. Totally free to download. Just open it up, the file that downloads, and it'll automatically pop into Procreate so that you can use the same colors as you follow along with the video today. So take a second to go grab that and then come back and we will get started. Okay, so first things first, we are going to go over the canvas dimensions. They are 8 inches wide by 10 inches high at 300 dpi. And the color profile that we're using is the second color profile on the RGB list. And then for our layers, we end up using about 15 layers by the end of the video. So you want to make sure you have at least that many layers available, and this is where you can see how many you have. If you don't have enough, you can lower your DPI here to get more layers. And this is what our color palette looks like. So let us just get started. So we are going to grab this first orange color here, and we are going to go to our layer menu, and we will be on layer 1, and let's drag this orange color onto the background to fill the entire layer. So now we are going to go to our color palette, select the second color on the top row, and under our brushes we are going to start with the Monoline Brush. So let's grab that under the calligraphy tab, and I'm going to set the size to 100%. And about halfway through the canvas, we are going to make a line all the way across the screen. Hold it down at the end so it turns into a line, and then touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Then we are going to fill underneath this. And this might happen to you too. If it does, go ahead and double tap to undo, and I'll show you how to just fill in the bottom. So drag your color back there again, and then holding your pen down on the screen while you do it, drag to the left. And it changes the threshold at the top of the screen so that it doesn't fill in over your line. So that is how you just get the bottom part to fill in. We are all on that same layer, and then we are going to click on the wand tool, Gaussian blur layer, and drag that to about 50% to get a nice gradient on our background. Okay, so on that same layer, now we are going to add a little bit of texture to our background. So let's go into our color palette and select the first color, that orange color that we used. And under the brushes, we are going to go under sketching and Bonobo chalk. Set it to about 70%, and then we are just going to lightly go back and forth right where this yellow part is, where it meets the orange, just to kind of blend it out a little bit more and add a little more texture. And then, using the same brush, same layer, we are going to grab the third color on the color palette on the top row and drag that right around the top and the edges of our canvas to add a little bit of red in there. Awesome. Okay, so next we are going to add the ground. So let's go to our layers menu, add a new layer. Go back to our Monoline Brush under the calligraphy tab, and we are going to go into the color palette, and we are going to grab this first color on the second row, and about a third of the way up our canvas, we are going to draw another straight line across. Hold your pen down to make it a perfectly straight line, and touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal, and then fill in below that. And while we are here, let's add some texture here as well. So we are going to go to our layer menu, click on this layer, turn on alpha lock. That'll make sure that we only color on this shape that we have and not go outside the lines. And then let's go to our color palette, select the second color on the second row, and we're going to switch back to our Bonobo chalk under the sketching category. And we have this lighter color, and we are just going to lightly add some texture to our ground here. We are going to be drawing the road on the left side, so we don't need to worry as much over there. Go to our color palette, select the third color on the second row, and add a little bit more with this darker color. No real reason for the placement, just to kind of add some variation. Okay, so now we're going to add the sidewalk and the road and get those mapped out on our ground here. So let's go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of our ground layer here, click on it and turn it into a clipping mask. And then we're going to grab the fourth color on the second row in our color palette and be on our monoline brush still at 100%. And we are going to start about 1/5 of the way from the left side of the screen and draw a line going down and to the right. And we are going to drag that line, hold it down so it turns perfectly straight, and then drag it till we have about 1/5 showing on the right side of the bottom of the screen here. And then we're going to draw a line to connect it, connect our shape so that we can fill it in. And that is going to be the start of it. So let's add a new layer on top of this one, turn that into a clipping mask as well. And then go to our color palette and select the 6th color on the second row, this really dark gray. Same brush and everything, we are going to draw the road part now. So this is going to be our sidewalk. So start just a little bit in from the right side again, and then draw a line going down and to the right a little bit. But we want to create the illusion that the sidewalk is getting smaller as it gets further away and then bigger towards the bottom here. So draw a line to kind of create that illusion. And then we are going to again connect our shape and fill it in. Okay, and then next we are going to add the lines to our sidewalk and our road. So let's first start on our sidewalk here. Click on the sidewalk layer, the lighter gray, and click on it and turn on alpha lock. And then using our monoline brush in this dark gray color, we are going to drop the size to about 20%. And we are going to draw some straight across lines. Each time you draw a line, hold it down at the end and then touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. So we'll start far away. Do it each time, make it perfectly horizontal. This one's a little too far, so I'm going to click edit shape at the top and then I can drag it up a little bit. And then similarly to how it got bigger as it gets closer to you, we're going to space them out a little farther apart as they get closer to us to kind of create the illusion that they're, getting bigger. So just 4 quick lines there. And then now we're going to draw the line on our road. So let's go to our layer menu, click on this dark gray layer, turn on alpha lock, and then grab our white color, this 4th color on the top row. And we are going to use that same brush, same size. And now we are going to draw a line kind of mirroring this line on the road here, close to the very edge. Click edit shape at the top if you didn't draw it very well, and then we will adjust it so that it kind of follows that line. Again, it gets a little bit further apart as it gets closer to you and a little closer together at the top there. And then we are going to draw a line starting really, really close to the edge, down, and again like a little bit to the right, not as much, so that there's a bigger space here than here. And then we are going to grab our dark gray color again here. You can hold down your finger on the screen to grab that color or select it from the color palette. It is the 6th color on the second row. And we're going to up our brush size back to 100. And we're just going to draw some little lines through our center line here. Make the lines smaller as they go further back. And then bigger as they get closer to the bottom. Just like that. Okay, and now we're going to add some texture. So let's go back. We'll just stay on this layer actually. And we are going to grab the 4th color on the second row, the one that we used for our sidewalk. And we're going to switch to our Bonobo chalk. And we are on the road layer. So let's drop the size of the brush to maybe 35 to 40%. So let's just very lightly use this to add some texture and some highlights. Then we're going to do one more thing to the road here. We are actually going to add some kind of splatters to add some more definition to our asphalt. So let's go to our brush menu, go to the spray paint category and go to splatter. Go to the color palette and select the last color on the second row, the really, really dark gray. And we have our brush at about 20%. And we're just going to add some splatters to the road as well, just to give it some extra texture. Okay, now let's work on the sidewalk. So let's go to our layer menu and go back to our sidewalk layer. Go to our color palette and select the 5th color on the second row, this lighter gray, and then go back to our Bonobo chalk under the sketching tab. And again, we are at about 30 to 35%. And we are just going to add some little highlights in little sections. Awesome. So that is that for this bottom ground layer. Next, we're going to add some hills to the background. We're going to do some very similar stuff, but let's go to our first layer, the orange and yellow one, add a new layer above that. So it's below our green ground layer here. And we are going to go back to our monoline brush again under calligraphy. And then in the color palette, we're going to select this first color, this first green color, so the 5th color on the top row. We have our brush at about 100, and what we're going to do is just start on the left side, starting about an inch up from our ground layer here. We are going to draw a hill shape in the background going all the way across the screen. We're just going to kind of vary in shapes and size and just kind of quickly draw all the way across, something like that. And then we are going to draw a line underneath all the way across so that we can fill in our shape. And then let's add a new layer on top of this one. Grab the second green color, the 6th one on the top row, and we're going to do the exact same thing just on the next level. Some of it will be lower than our layer behind, and some of it will get a little taller. So where we made it lower behind here, we'll kind of go above it, and vice versa. Something like that, really simple. Different than our one behind it. And then we're going to draw across and fill that shape in as well. Okay, so next we are going to add some texture to these. You know the drill. So we are going to go to the back darker green layer, click on it, turn on alpha lock, and then using this green color that we used for our front hill, we are going to use that same color to add some highlights to our back hill. So let's go to our Bonobo chalk brush. Drop the size to about 20 to 25% and just draw some highlights on the tops of the hills. Like so. And then we're going to do the same thing to this layer. So go to your layer menu, find your lighter green, click on it, turn on alpha lock, and then grab this last green color on the top row, same Bonobo chalk brush. And same thing, add some texture mostly to the tops of the hills, a little bit in the front as well. And since we can see the front of this one, we're going to add some shadows to it as well. So let's go back to our color palette and select the 5th color on the top row here, the one that we used for our back hill. And we are just going to add some shadows lightly to the bottom of this hill as well. Don't push too hard, but just give it a nice little shadow there. Beautiful. Now we are going to get to the fun part and start drawing our palm trees. So we are going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of all of our layers, and we are going to go to our color palette and grab this first brown color on the last row. And we are going to use the rectangle tool. So use this selection tool here, switch it to a rectangle, turn on color fill, and we're basically just going to start right at the very, very top of our hill layer here, just a little bit inside and to the right of our sidewalk. we're going to start there and we're going to draw a rectangle just about to here, pretty skinny, and we want it to touch just about a third of the way down on our canvas. Okay, and we are going to end up with 5 of these, so we are going to just actually make a duplicate of this one 4 times. So go to your layer menu, find this layer, swipe left on it, and then click duplicate, and then grab your arrow tool, make sure it's on uniform, and then we are going to drag this one down into the right just a little bit, and then using one of the corners, size it up till it's just a little bit taller than this one next to it. And then go to your layer menu, make a duplicate of that one, and do the same thing. Just going down into the right, making it just a little bit taller, and sticking pretty close to the sidewalk all the way down. Make a duplicate of that one. And one last time. Okay. And they are just a little too tall. This palm tree is going to go like all the way off the grid. So we are going to go to our layer menu, select every single one of these. So we have this one selected already, then swipe right on each one after that. Click our arrow tool again, uniform turned on, and we are just going to downsize them all just a little bit. Reposition them so this back one is where I want it. Okay, and then when you have them all laid out like you'd like, we are going to go to our layer menu and using your 2 fingers, just pinch all 5 of these layers together so they're all one layer. And then click on this layer, turn on alpha lock, and we are going to add some texture again. So let's go to our color palette, select this darker brown color, the second one on the last row. We are on our Bonobo chalk layer. If you're not, find it. And again, at about 25%, we're going to focus this mostly towards the tops of each of these tree trunks. To about the halfway point, and then we are going to switch to our light brown color, the third one on the last row, and starting at the bottom, kind of work your way up into that darker color that we just put on. Okay, so now we can start the palm leaves. So we are going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer on top of this one, switch back to our Monoline Brush, and then grab this 4th color on the last row. And we are actually going to start probably on this second palm here. This one's going to go off the edge and kind of ruin our shapes a little bit. So we're going to draw our main palm here, and then we'll make copies of it for each of the palm tree tops. So the first thing that we're going to do is just draw the main palm leaf. So just start at the center of this top of the tree trunk, draw a straight line out to about this size. You don't have to like touch your finger on the screen or anything, just make sure it turns into a perfectly straight line. And then starting at that point, make kind of a arc shape to connect the 2 points. And click on edit shape if you need to. I made mine a little too large, the arc part, so let's just kind of bring that down a bit, and then we will fill that shape in. And this is going to be our main palm shape, and we are actually going to end up making copies of this for each of the palms and then each of the trees. So let's add some texture to this before we start duplicating it. So click on the layer menu, click this layer, turn on alpha lock, grab the darker green color here, the 5th one on the last row, switch to our Bonobo chalk. You know what to do. We're gonna add some shadow to the right side closer to the tree trunk, and then go to our color palette and grab the last color on the last row. And we're gonna kind of draw this mostly towards the along the top of the leaf as well, and towards the tip. Kind of blend it into our darker color that we just drew as well. Something like that. So that's our leaf. So now we are going to make a duplicate of it. And we are going to click on the arrow tool, click flip horizontal so that we can kind of get it on the other side. And then we're just going to kind of just do this for all of them and just kind of change the angles up. So make another duplicate, and we'll have this one kind of going up and over. Make a duplicate again, flip it horizontal again so we can have it on the other side. Maybe a little at a different angle there. And they're all just going to kind of meet in the center here. And then as I'm doing this, I notice they're all a little too big. So let's select all of the ones that we have so far. Click the arrow tool, make sure uniform's turned on. And let's just downsize that just a little bit so that we can make some more leaves. Okay, that looks good. So now let's go back to this, make a duplicate, and we should have about 6 leaves when we're done. So let's make this one like the tippy top. And then make another one. Flip it horizontally again. Now let's go back and we'll have it be just on the left side here as well. So get your leaves to a place where you like the shape that they're in, and then that is going to be the leaves for our palm tree. So we're going to go to the layer menu and drag all of these together so they're all on one layer. Just know that you can't make any changes after that to the way they're arranged or anything, so make sure you like the arrangement before you sync them together. But then we are going to make a duplicate of this, and we are going to again select it with the arrow, and then we are going to make it a little bit bigger for this front one. And again, it's going to go off the edges, but that's okay. But it is going to clip all of our shapes. So then, as you can see, they're kind of just gone from our shape here. So when we make duplicates for the back ones, we're going to have to go back to this original one that we created, make a duplicate of it, and then we can now, let's actually go back to our layer menu, drag it behind, since it'll be on our tree back there. Click the arrow tool, downsize it just a little bit, and kind of, you know, align it on the top of this tree. Make another duplicate of that, drag it below, arrow tool, resize, line it up, and do it one more time. So those are our palm trees. On this first one here, I want to kind of make it darker in the middle so that we don't see these leaves overlapping as much. So let's go back to that layer. Alpha lock's already turned on. Let's grab our really dark green, the 5th color on the last row, Bonobo chalk, and just kind of draw right in the center there. Just to kind of add a little bit more of a shadow to where all of our leaves connect. Okay, and we are almost done. We are going to add the sun and the clouds, add a new layer on top of everything. Go to our color palette, select this red color, the 3rd one on the top row. Grab our Monoline brush and let's make a circle. And then hold your pen down at the end and touch your finger to the screen to make it a perfect circle. It's not going to be very big. Just a small little sun in the back there. And then add a new layer on top of that one. Grab our white color, the 4th one on the top row, and we're going to draw some cloud shapes. So we're going to draw a perfectly horizontal line to start. Hold your pen down, touch your finger to the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. And then that's the bottom of our cloud. So now we're just going to draw a couple little curves to kind of make the rest of the cloud, fill it in. Let's add another one back here. Again, perfectly straight line, touch your finger on the screen to make it perfectly horizontal. Create some curves on top and then connect the shape, and then you can fill it in manually or drag and drop it. And then let's do one more kind of here. Again, perfectly horizontal line. cloud shape and fill it in. So obviously we don't want our clouds in front of our trees, so let's take a second and move. But we do want them in front of our sun, so we have to move the sun and the clouds. Select them both and drag them below the tree. And then we're going to add a little more texture to our clouds, but we're actually going to do it a different way this time. So we are going to select the cloud layer, select the eraser tool, and then we're going to change the eraser tool to spray paints and flicks. And we are going to actually just erase sections of the cloud. So let's turn it to about 15% and just kind of, don't really drag your brush, but just kind of touch it to the screen near the clouds to create some more texture to them. Okay, so we are going to do the last step, which is add the shadows to our tree trunks on the ground. So we are going to go to our layer menu, add a new layer underneath our original tree trunk layer, above all the ground stuff, and then we are going to select the 5th color on the 2nd row of our color palette, and then grab our selection tool, the rectangle and color fill turned on, and we're going to do a very similar thing that we did when making our original tree trunks, and we are just going to draw a small rectangle near the base of the tree trunk going off the side of the screen, but we don't want it to stick out underneath our tree trunk here. We kind of want it hidden behind the tree trunk. I just like to start at the very outside corner here and then drag up a little bit and then over and off the screen. And then we will do that for each one, getting a little bit thicker as we get closer to the bottom of the screen since they are getting bigger. So then you can just kind of click either the arrow tool or the layers menu to deselect all of the rectangle highlights. And then we are going to go to our layer menu, click on the N on this layer, drag it up to multiply. That'll turn it into a nice shadow layer. Let's drag it to about 80%. And that is it for our drawing today. I hope you had fun. If you did, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and Joel's channel if you want to see more Procreate tutorials in the future. And if you would like to share your drawing on Instagram, we would love to see it. So go ahead and post it and then tag both of us in it so that we can check it out. While you're there, go ahead and give us each a follow so that you can see what we're working on next. Thanks for watching.